The long wait for the preseason to begin is finally over. With patch 9.23, elemental rifts are going to be coming to the live servers in just a few days. So here's everything that you need to know before these changes go live. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to check out our website, GameLeap.com. There we have hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We have courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses, so if that is something that interests you, make sure to check it out using the link in the description below. All ranked rewards for Season 9 are going to be distributed during patch 9.23 at some point. If you placed gold or higher in any queue, you're going to be receiving Victorious Aatrox this year as the Victorious skin. The theme of Season 10 is going to be Elemental Rifts. After the second Elemental Drake in a game dies, the map will undergo huge changes. These changes will differ depending on which Drake is the third to spawn. These changes are going to happen in every single quadrant of the jungle and around Baron and Dragon pits. Infernal Drake is going to scorch the rift, burning down walls next to buffs as well as brushes. The entrance to Dragon Pit is going to widen, allowing for more open fights to occur. Mountain Drake is going to do the exact opposite, and new terrain is going to erupt from the ground, creating walls in places that were not there before. The Ocean Rift is going to make new brushes pop up near the Dragon Pit, and it's going to make most of the brushes in the jungle a lot bigger. There will also be new spawn locations for Honey Fruit when Ocean Rift happens. Finally, Cloud Rift is going to make wind tunnels appear around each buff. One of these wind tunnels will also appear around Dragon Pit. These wind tunnels will give movement speed to champions on both sides of the map, helping them dodge skill shots and reposition quicker. Certain rifts are going to benefit certain champions over others, and you never know which rift you're going to get going into the game. This will ensure that even if you draft the same team comp 5 games in a row, all of these games have the potential to be very different. This will definitely have the most impact in the pro scene. In pro play, games are played relatively the same every single game no matter what occurs, but this might change with different rifts. This is something that I am very excited to get my hands on, and I think that it is going to be a good change for League overall. Moving on, we've got the side lane alcoves. These alcoves are going to allow for new playmaking opportunities both for junglers and side laners. They probably won't change the way that a lane is played normally, but if a jungle gank occurs, then you can react to it in different ways, or you can set up jungle ganks of your own in different ways. A new permanent brush is going to be joining us on the rift near the blue buff. This brush will mix things up with invades and defending your blue side jungle. Next up, let's cover the elemental drakes and the dragon souls. The first team to slay 4 elemental drakes is going to gain a dragon soul matching the elemental rift. If it is the infernal rift, you're going to get an infernal soul. Mountain rift, mountain soul, etc. Only one team can get a dragon soul. After that, the Elder Drake will be the next dragon to spawn. Unlike Baron buff, the buff that you get from Dragon Souls will persist through death and it will be permanent for the rest of the game. Now, what do each of these souls do? Infernal Soul will give you AoE damage on the next unit that you deal damage to every 3 seconds. Mountain Soul will give you a shield after not taking damage for 5 seconds. Ocean Soul will heal you every time that you deal damage to enemies. You will heal for less if the damage you deal is to minions or monsters. Finally, Cloud will give you 10% increased move speed passively, and after casting your ultimate, you will gain an additional 30% move speed. Elemental Drake buffs are getting an update this patch as well. You can now get up to a maximum of 4 of each type of Elemental Drake. Some of the Elemental Drakes are changing as well, so pay attention. Infernal Drakes are going to give less ability power and attack damage per stat. Mountain Drakes are now going to give a bonus percentage of armor and magic resist. At the highest level of play, Mountain Dragons were just too good for objective control, so this should even things out across all elos. Ocean is having its mana regeneration portion completely removed and now will only be regenerating missing health. But this missing health regeneration will persist even if you are in combat. The amount that you get is also going to be buffed the more stacks that you have. Finally, instead of giving move speed, Cloud Drakes are going to give ultimate CDR that is going to ignore the CDR cap. Overall, these Drake buffs seem a lot more powerful than the old buffs that we used to have in Season 9. To ensure that things don't get too stale, the first 3 Drakes that you see in a game will always be unique. Once the 3rd Elemental Drake does spawn though, that will be the only Elemental Drake that you see for the rest of the game. Once 4 Elemental Drakes have been taken by one team, then Elder will spawn for the rest of the game. Elder Dragon is getting a rework. It will no longer amp the buffs that you get from Drakes anymore. On top of this, the burn from Elder Drake will no longer reveal enemies, and subsequent Elder Drakes are not going to be more powerful. Instead, Elder Drake is going to get an execute that triggers when a target is below 20% health. The execute will trigger upon any damage that you deal to the target, but is dodgeable. Even if you dodge it one time, however, the execute does not have a cooldown, so if you take damage again, the execute will trigger a second time. Elder Buff's duration is going to be increased to 3 minutes flat, but you'll still be losing it if you die. Likewise, Baron buff is going to be decreased to also be 3 minutes flat. The visuals for all of the neutral buffs in the game have received a visual update. That's going to be Baron buff, Dragon buff, and Red and Blue buff. The top side of the map is receiving quite a few changes to help increase top lane influence. Rift Herald is going to spawn sooner, and if you take it early enough, will respawn. You'll have less time to pick up Rift Herald, it'll take less time to summon, and on top of that, it'll be a lower level on average because it's going to calculate its level when you pick it up, not when you summon it. Its charge is going to do pretty similar damage to what it was doing, but it's going to be taking a whole lot more damage from that charge. Minion EXP is being tuned so that solo laners get about 2% more EXP, while duo laners get about 2% less. Turret plating is going to be buffed the more people you have around when a turret plate falls. This is to help prevent teams from just grouping on Rift Herald early and shoving down lanes. Finally, Dorn's Shield is having its health regen increased to help melee laners survive a little bit better against ranged top laners. Next up, we've got some changes to the jungle pacing. The focus for these changes is to ensure that junglers can hit level 3 by clearing one full side of their jungle. In Season 9, it was a lot stronger to full clear red side because that gave you level 3, while full clearing blue side would not. Jungle items will no longer grant catch-up EXP. To compensate for this, the first camp bonus is going to be a little bit higher. In Season 9, there was a really strange clear where you could take 2 small wolves, then take blue, then take Gromp, and then wolves, and that would give you the most EXP possible on blue side. With catch-up EXP being removed, that will no longer be possible. It isn't really a clear that was ever being used, but it was possible. The respawn timer on small camps is going to be lowered to 2 minutes. On top of this, there's going to be potential jungle timers for each and every camp, not just buffs. If you had vision of the camp when it was killed, you're going to be getting a timer on that camp. To compensate for the lowered timers, camps are also going to give a little bit less EXP as well. This is just to ensure that junglers aren't the highest level in the game by a long shot, and they're not able to just take over the game with these new jungle changes. Next up, we've got the Lethality item rework, and this is probably the thing that I am most excited about in this upcoming preseason. Every Lethality item that we mention is going to have stat line changes, so make sure you pay attention to those because they are going to be a little bit different. We'll put those up on the screen for you so you can see them. First up, Duskblade is having its blackout portion removed. This means it's no longer going to disable wards, and it's not going to allow you to one-shot wards. Youmuu's is pretty much the same as it was before, except now it's also going to allow you to move through units. Using the active will cause you to ignore unit collision for the duration. Next up is Edge of Night, and the spell shield for Edge of Night is now just going to work exactly like Banshee's Veil. This definitely makes Edge of Night a lot more situational, and while it can be better into some picks, it's not going to be as good into others. There's a new item called Sanguine Blade, which will give you additional attack speed when you are near one or less enemy champions. This item is going to be geared towards allowing assassins to split push. Ever since Youmuu's had its attack speed taken away, they never really had an item to help them push towers quickly. The second new lethality item is Umbral Blade. This item has the blackout portion from old Duskblade on it. This means it's going to allow you to know when you are on a ward, and it's going to help you destroy those wards quickly. Finally, for lethality items, Serrated Dirk is having its Headhunter passive removed. Support items are also getting a full rework. Instead of buying upgrades to your support items, they're now going to upgrade automatically by completing your quest. There's still going to be 3 tiers. The second tier is still going to give you 3 wards, and the third tier is still going to give you 4 wards. The only difference is you can't go back and buy an upgraded support item after getting first blood. Now, since these new support items are going to be so good at generating gold, there are a bunch of mechanics on it to ensure that laners and junglers do not abuse it. There are 4 different support lines. The Spell Thief's Edge and the Relic Shield lines are both returning, but there's 2 brand new lines as well. The first new line is the Spectral Sickle line, which gives AD, health, and the passive from Spell Thieves. Next is the Steel Shoulder Guards line, which gives health, attack damage, and the passive from Relic Shield. Speaking of Relic Shield will now be giving a small amount of AP in addition to the health that it gives. Shurelya's Reverie is being turned into a heals and shield item. The active on Shurelya's is going to be relatively the same, except with a bit larger radius. The ability power and passive movement speed are being taken off of the item. I'm gonna be totally honest, I'm not exactly sure where it leaves this item in terms of power. It seems like it could be a little bit better on champions like Janna and Lulu, but some of the mages that were really enjoying it, for example Vladimir, aren't going to be able to build it anymore. The last itemization update is to crit itemization. Stormrazor is getting a change to some of its stats, its build path, and it's going to be getting crit chance now. Its unique passive, where it amplified energized attacks by 35%, is being removed in exchange. Rapid Fire Cannon is having 2 of its passives removed. It's not going to cause energized effects to work on turrets, and on top of that, it's not going to increase Energize's charge rate. Static Shiv's lightning is no longer going to be able to critically strike. In exchange, there are going to be more targets that are going to be hit with that lightning, meaning it's guaranteed to hit a champion if you auto in a regular wave, and if you auto in a cannon wave, then it's at least guaranteed to hit every single minion. Both Static Shiv and Rapid Fire Cannon have had their energized damage flattened to 120 at all ranks. Kirshi's Shard is going to cost a little bit more gold, and it's going to deal a little bit more damage. Brawler's Glove is being completely removed from the game. Cloak of Agility will be the only remaining crit component, and it's going to have the crit chance up to 25%. As a result, Zeal is going to be building out of a Cloak of Agility and a Dagger now. It's going to give a little bit less attack speed, but a lot more crit chance. It's also going to cost a little bit more gold than before. Now, I hope you guys are ready to say goodbye to some of our friends, because it is time to cover the items being removed in Preseason 10. First up is Spear of Shogen. While Shogen is being removed from Summoner's Rift, it still will be available in ARAM, so at least we have that to look forward to. ZZ Rot Portal is also being removed from the game because it allows split push strategies that just aren't healthy. Omewrecker just isn't really purchased ever, so it's being removed. With nothing left to build Raptor Cloak into, this item is also being removed. Now, onto the home stretch, we've got runes. Kleptomancy is being removed from the game. It allows too much gold generation, and that's just not healthy. In its place, we've got a new keystone called Prototype Omni Stone. This new keystone is going to swap between random keystones. Shortly after using your current keystone, it will swap to the next keystone, not allowing you to repeat keystones for a while. The keystone that you're currently on will show up right next to your health bar, and all 10 players are going to be able to see that. If you're having trouble using a keystone, then you'll get a new keystone after 40 seconds of not using that keystone once you leave combat. You're going to keep your Dark Harvest stacks and your Grasp stacks, and your Dark Harvest stacks are going to charge all of your other runes as well. You can only get Aftershock if you can proc the ability, and you can only get Predator if you have boots. Conqueror is receiving an update. It's no longer going to be dealing true damage at max stacks. In exchange, it's going to give you more adaptive force, and it's going to heal you for more. Aftershock is having its base resistances decreased, while its scaling resistances increased. This is to try and make it so champions that are intended to be squishy, like Fiddlesticks, aren't able to turn into pseudo-tanks with just Aftershock. Next up is Presence of Mind, which is getting changes to allow energy-based champs to take it as well. On top of this, every takedown will increase your maximum mana by 100 up to 500, or your maximum energy by 10 up to 50. Finally, Nimbus Cloak is receiving a bit of an update, and instead of proccing on your ultimate, it's going to proc off of summoner spell usage. The amount of movement speed that you get from Nimbus Cloak is going to depend on how long the cooldown of the summoner spell you just used is. Now, that was a huge patch with a lot of information. If you weren't able to soak it all up at once, that's okay. We're going to be covering a lot of these topics very in depth in the upcoming days. Speaking of in-depth coverage, our website has tons of in-depth courses covering everything you could possibly want to know about League of Legends. Over there we've got hundreds of guides, all done by challenger players, sorted into a quick and easy to use courses system. We've got courses both on the 5 fundamental roles as well as champion specific courses. So if that is something that interests you, then make sure to check it out using the link in the description below. If you're looking for a learning tool to help you improve at League, our website is the best out there. I've checked out a lot of content on there myself personally, and I can honestly say it is all very high quality. So what are you waiting for? Sign up today to start improving your play.